August 4th, 1577, the coast of East Anglia, England. It was a Sunday morning, but it felt like the middle of the night. The sky had turned a pitch black, darker than anyone in the village of Blythburgh had ever seen. The storm that struck the coast that day wasn't just rain and wind. It was violent. It was unnatural. Lightning split the sky in webs of white fire, and thunder shook the very foundations of the earth. Terrified, the villagers ran. They left their homes and sprinted toward the only place they believed could save them, the Holy Church of the Holy Trinity. They barred the heavy wooden doors. They huddled together in the pews, praying for the storm to pass. But the storm didn't just stay outside, because that morning the people of Blythburgh didn't find salvation in their church. They found a monster. Witnesses claimed the church doors burst open with a sound like an explosion, and standing there, framed by the lightning, was a beast, a giant black hound, dragging the lightning in its wake. They called it Black Shuck, and for over 500 years, its name has been whispered in fear along the English coast. Before we enter that church, we have to understand what this creature is. Long before 1577, the fishermen of Suffolk and Norfolk spoke of a shadow that stalked the marshes. They didn't call it a wolf, they called it a hellhound. The descriptions were always the same, spanning centuries. A dog, but impossibly large, the size of a calf or a horse. Fur as black as coal oil, and eyes that burned red like hot embers pulled from a dying fire. Records going back as far as the 1100s mentioned a spectral hound moving along the cliffs. In the lonely fens, where the sea mist rolls over the land, locals had a rule: you do not walk alone at night. Some believed it was the ghost of a drowned sailor, angry and lost. Others believed it was a guardian, but most agreed on one thing: Black Shuck was an omen. If you saw it, if you looked into those red eyes, you or someone you loved would die within a year. But in 1577, the Shuck stopped being a quiet omen. It became a killer. Back to the storm, August 4th. Inside the Cathedral of the Marshes, the air was thick with panic. Then a bolt of lightning struck the church steeple. The roof collapsed in parts. The heavy oak doors were blasted inward. According to the church records, written by Abraham Fleming only shortly after the event, a monstrous black dog sprinted down the nave. It didn't move like a normal animal. It moved like smoke. It ran through the congregation. Fleming wrote, "All down the church, in the midst of fire, the hellish monster flew, and 2 men were slain." It wasn't a mauling. The beast passed between 2 men kneeling in prayer. It touched them, and instantly they fell dead, their necks twisted backward, their bodies drained of life. The creature then turned, tearing at the wood and stone with claws that were harder than iron, before vanishing back into the storm. If you go to Blythburgh Church today, you can still see them. Deep black scorch marks on the church door. The locals call them the devil's fingerprints. But the nightmare wasn't over. On the exact same night, 12 miles away, in the town of Bungay, the storm was raging just as hard. St. Mary's Church was full. Suddenly, the darkness coalesced. The Black Shuck appeared in the doorway. This time, the accounts are even gruesome. The creature allegedly attacked the congregation physically. In the chaos, the villagers found a young boy and a man dead on the floor. They looked as if they had been burned alive, yet there was no fire near them. Their clothes were intact, but their skin was seared black. The town records state they were struck down by the devil's hound. This night sealed the legend. This wasn't just a story to scare children anymore. Something supernatural, something conducting the power of the storm itself, was roaming Suffolk. Centuries passed. The attacks stopped, but the sightings did not. In 1825, a mill worker named Thomas Kerr was walking home after a long shift. The sun had set. The fog was rolling in off the marshes, thick and white. The wind died down. The birds stopped singing. Absolute silence. Then Thomas heard it. Heavy, wet breathing, right behind his ear. He spun around. Standing in the middle of the path was a dog, but it was massive. Its back was higher than Thomas's waist. It stood perfectly still. Its eyes were glowing a deep, piercing red in the twilight. Thomas couldn't move. He was paralyzed by the Shuck's glare. The creature walked past him. It didn't attack. It moved slowly, deliberately. As it passed, Thomas said the air turned freezing cold, like a winter draft in the middle of summer. It walked into the mist and simply dissolved. Thomas ran home. His wife said he looked pale as a corpse. He told her what he saw. 3 days later, Thomas Kerr was found dead in his bed. There were no marks on him, no illness, just a look of frozen terror on his face. The omen had been fulfilled. Fast forward to 1901, near Sheringham. 2 brothers were operating a small lighthouse. For 3 nights, a gale had been battering the coast. On the 3rd night, they heard something over the sound of the waves. Scratching. Heavy, rhythmic scratching on the thick wooden door of the lighthouse base. The younger brother, thinking it was a stray dog seeking shelter, climbed up to look out a lower window. He screamed. Standing in the rain, looking up at him, was the beast. Its fur was dry. The rain was hitting it, but not wetting it, and those red eyes were locked onto him. They barricaded the door with furniture. They listened to the scratching all night. When the sun rose, the creature was gone. But when they opened the door, they found deep grooves crawled into the stone steps, gouges too deep for any wolf or dog known to man. Later that day, a fisherman from the village was found washed up on the rocks below, drowned. His eyes were open. You might think this is ancient history, folklore. But in 1972, a report was filed with the police near Cromer. A man was driving late at night. He was sober, driving a reliable car. Suddenly, he swerved violently and crashed into a ditch. When the police arrived, the man was shaking. He wasn't hurt, but he was terrified. He told the officers, "A huge black dog was standing in the middle of the road. It didn't move. I drove right through it." He swore he saw the red eyes. He swore he felt the impact. But there was no blood on the car, no fur, no body. Just a cold spot in the air where the car had passed through the phantom. Even today, in 2024, the reports continue. Joggers on the coastal paths report the feeling of being watched. Campers report seeing a large black shape standing on the ridges during thunderstorms. People report cold spots in local graveyards where the grass never grows. Is Black Shuck a ghost? Is it a demon summoned by the violent weather of the North Sea? Or is it a guardian patrolling the boundaries between the land and the ocean? We don't know. But the locals of East Anglia still hold to one rule. If you are walking near the marshes at night and the fog rolls in and you hear the sound of heavy paws behind you, don't turn around. Because if you see the eyes, the storm is already inside you.